Pharma Brands. We are on AM 1430 WBEV. Also, streaming live on Daily Dodge TV. If you want to check that out at dailydodge.com. We once again welcome in Dick Zondag. Good morning, sir. Hello? Anybody there? Do not hear Dick in my headsets. Hello? Nobody there. We'll take a break and be back with more. We'll figure this out here in just a moment on WBEV.
Important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
All right, let's do take two. It is 10:32 here on WBEV. Dick, are you there? Hello. We're, again, experiencing some problems getting our feed from the video pit, as we call it, to the control room here. And again, if you do have questions, we'll get Dick on eventually here. 885-4446, the number to call if you have any questions for Dick. We'll be right back.
Surefire, be sure with Surefire. Season to season, all year round.
You know, sometimes March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. It can also come in like a dog and out like a cat. Or in like a possum and out like a lemur. Or in like a pheasant and out like a bigger pheasant. But no matter what March comes in or goes out like, you can count on the even comfort of a Lennox home comfort system from Surefire. Trust the guys from Lennox and Surefire to keep you comfortable. Whether March comes in like a praying mantis and out like a blowfish. Remember that one? Was that 2015 or 2016? I forget.
With a finance plan to fit every budget, today is the time to upgrade to new Lennox home comfort system from Surefire, your local Lennox premier dealer.
Be sure with Surefire.
Your hometown station, AM 1430 WBEV.
Welcome to Ram Truck Month at Reed Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Beaver Dam, featuring 0% financing for 72 months on brand new Bighorn crew cabs. For you Jeep enthusiasts, take $3,000 off 22 Grand Cherokee Altitudes. And if you're looking for a muscle car coming into spring, Dodge Challenger RT starting at $38,000. Let our family take care of your family at Reed Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Beaver Dam and reedchrysler.com.
Okay, we are having problems with our video feed from the video pit in this video world. So we're going to wait a few seconds here as Dick makes his way up to our community comment room where he will be broadcasting live with us. And we do have a caller checking in. We'll be getting to that caller in just a moment. 885-4446 is the number to call. And again, I see a vision of Dick in the room next to me as he's getting situated with his headset and microphone. And let's see. Hang on, folks, not there yet. By the way, congratulations to our most recent radio bingo winner. Actually, winners, Bob Haslow and Joanne Fadness. They bingoed on 073, got their cards from Glenn's Market and St. Vincent de Paul, and they split that $25 prize, each winning $12.50. This is the final week of Radio Bingo. We'll have folks playing on the gray card this week, the final week, and then we're done with Radio Bingo for the year before we fire up the bingo balls again in January. Going to be sunny and mild today, breezy with a high of 65 degrees. South winds at 15 to 25. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 41. Tomorrow, variably cloudy, chance of sprinkles, high 53, and Thursday, good chance of rain, breezy and cold, and high of 40. Have we made contact, Houston?
Good morning.
Hey, we did it.
There we go.
All right.
A little late, but better late than never.
Better late
right?
than never. That's my motto. Well, how are things going at the store right now before we take our phone calls?
With the beautiful weather that we've got outside now, we're getting kind of busy. Got a lot of seeds out there, and we were going to use seed starting equipment for my hide behind this morning, but we can talk about it, even though I don't have them here in front of me. But we have a lot of really great seed starting equipment at Jung's. The first thing that you want to remember when you're starting seeds is that you want to use a sterile medium, something that's a peat-based medium and something that says seed starting on it. Now, we have about 4 or 5 different seed starting mixes at Jung's. The one that we have used the longest is Jiffy Mix, but we also have a Jung starting mix now too, so they work really good, and there are a couple of others. But you want to start with something that's sterile, the peat-based. If you start with soil, you're starting with 2 strikes against you, because the soil has the spores of the damping off fungus. And the damping off fungus, the 2 funguses are Pythium and Rhizoctonia. The spores of those particular diseases love the same conditions that germinating seeds like. So if you've got a warm, wet environment, you know that you're going to have that problem. So what you do is you start out with a sterile seed starting mix, and you wet it good, and then you want the warm environment. So we have a couple of different things that you can do. We have clean flats, and we have a seed starting mat that it doesn't feel real hot to the field, but it has a thermostat in it that keeps it at about 70 degrees, and that's the best temperature to germinate almost all seeds at. And so you put your seeds in there, you put them in a warm environment, and then you want to use something that's clean to put the soil in. You want to start each different each different type of vegetable in one tray, because all of them germinate at different speeds. So you don't want to start peppers and tomatoes and eggplant and cabbage and stuff like that in the same tray, because the thing that you want to do when the seed is starting to peek out of the seed coats, you want to get it out of that warm, wet environment. So you take it out of the plastic bag or out of the seed mini greenhouse that you have, and put it in a cool, sunny window so that it dries out, and that will also help stop the water molds that do the damping off. And so then you feel the medium, and if it's dry, you water it heavy. Clean milk jugs that you cut the top off and poke holes in the bottom make great containers for starting seeds in. And you just make rows of the different varieties of tomatoes. You put a label in so you know which ones are the early ones, early girl or big boy or big beef, whatever you're doing. You want to keep track of what variety you have, and then when they get 2 or 3 sets of true leaves, then you kind of tease them out of that starting mixture, trying to keep as much soil and roots as you can on them, and then you can transplant them into a mix that has the garden soil in, because by that time the stems have, it's called lignified, but they have enough strength that they can withstand a little bit of the damping off. And but there again, you want to keep the soil moist. You water it heavy when you water it, and then you let it dry out between waterings. You don't want to keep the soil wet all the time. And then you plant them. You take them outside about a week to 10 days before you want to plant them in the garden. You bring them in at night when it's too cold, and that way they're out in the wind and it's hard. And, it works really good. And for beginning gardeners, the only thing I can say is the longer you garden, the better you get at it. So you got to start somewhere, and you want to start with things that are easy to grow, like tomatoes and peppers and some of the cole crops, cabbage, cauliflower, kohlrabi, Brussels sprouts, things like that. And then for the regular garden, you just plant the beans, peas, corn, those sorts of things right from the seed in the garden after the soil warms up a little bit.
Okay.
So, it's really, it's really a fun activity. Even though I do it for a business, I do have a pretty good-sized garden, and we enjoy the fresh vegetables that come out of the garden because, there's no better vegetables, even though you get fresh produce in the stores. That produce was grown in California or Florida at this time of the year. When you get into the gardening season, you'll probably have some local produce there, but when you grow it yourself, you know exactly what you have, and the quicker you get it in and eat it, the better off it is. And so those fresh tomatoes and the fresh sweet corn and cabbage and cauliflower out of your garden, boy, they're really good.
And you made it yourself. That's
and you
what's kind
did
of
it
cool.
yourself. You saved a little money doing
exactly.
it. And
ripple effect.
And I still get a great lift out of being able to grow something in my garden, and something that you've done. And even if your kids don't want to eat the vegetables, you eat them.
Exactly. Well, we got your legion of followers ready to talk to you, Dick. You're on. Thank you for waiting. You're on the air with Dick Zondag. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I was wondering, do you trim back peach trees like you do apple trees? And the other question I had is, when do you start spraying the apple trees? I'll hang up and listen.
Okay. Peaches tend to be very fast growers, and you do want to trim them back a little bit, but you have to have some of last year's growth to get fruit this year. So, you want to get structure in the tree because peach trees can be a little bit fragile if you've got a real heavy load of fruit. Sometimes you even prop a 2x4 under the branch so that it doesn't break the branch off. And pruning you should do right now. But like I said, you don't want to prune all the new growth off because that's where the peaches come from, is the new growth that was grown last year. If you've got a newer tree, I would say the first 3 or 4 years you want to fruit it lightly because if peaches tend to overfruit, and if you let them do their thing and you have hundreds of little peaches on your tree, it will actually fruit it to death, and especially during the first 3 or 4 years. If you let it fruit too much, it may die in the winter. So if the fruit on the tree stays past the 4th of July, you want to get in there and thin it down if it's the early time in its life. After it gets 3 or 4 years, then you can let it do what it wants to do. But the other part about a heavy fruit load is that the more fruit that's on a tree, it doesn't matter whether it's an apple or a pear or a peach or a plum, the more fruit on the tree, the smaller the fruit will be, because that tree can only mature a certain amount, and if you leave too much on the tree, it tends to make smaller fruit and later fruit. And it's also a way that apples start to get cyclic, where they'll fruit themselves to death one year, and then they don't set any fruit buds in the fall for the next year, and you get nothing on the tree the next year. So if that happens, get in there and thin it out the year that it's heavy, and that will get it back into annual fruiting.
All right. We do have another caller. 885-4446, the number to call if you want to get on the air with Dick Zondag. Good morning. You're on the air on The Garden Doctor.
I was wondering about hydrangea that I have here, and I wanted to ask Dick about it.
The H word, Dick.
My favorite subject to talk about. Hydrangeas, it depends on the hydrangea that you have. Some of them fruit or some of them flower in early summer, and if they flower in early summer, that means that the flower buds are on the plant right now. Some of them tend to flower later in the season, like the paniculatas, and those they'll form their flower buds in the summertime and then flower. So, kind of depends on the variety that you have. One thing you can do is you can look at the stems coming out of the ground at the end of the stems, and if it has a big fat bud at the end of the stem, that's a flower bud. You can tell the flower buds from the leaf buds by looking at the size. If it's a big fat bud, you know it's a flower bud. If it's a very sharp, smaller bud, that's a leaf bud. So if it flowers before the 4th of July, you want to prune it right after it flowers, after the flowers fade. If it's one that flowers in the fall, you can prune it any time.
Okay.
But this one has never flowered in 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And I was wondering if it is partial shade.
No, hydrangeas will take some shade. What I do with it is, there's nothing I can do this year. I take a shovel and go out and dig around it, just to shove the shovel into the ground, cut a lot of the roots. What that does is it puts the plant under a little bit of stress, and plants tend to flower more when they're under a little stress. Don't fertilize it, don't water it, but do the root pruning.
Okay.
And that may make it flower.
Okay. I was wondering, you can't move that. That's been in there, like I say, for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
If I wanted to transplant that, can I do it? Is it a short root under there that I can?
No, hydrangeas have a very fibrous root system. So what I would do is probably dig it maybe 4 to 6 inches beyond where the shrub is. Yeah. And try to take as much soil as you can with it. And you should, if you do it as soon as the soil opens up so you can get a shovel in the ground, you should be able to move it right now. I mean, when it gets that time.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yep, thanks.
All right, thank you for your call.
Yep.
And again, you are listening to The Garden Doctor here on WBEV, your hometown station. 885-4446 is the number to call if you want to get on the air with Dick Zondag from Jung Garden Center. Back to the phones we go. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, WBEV and Dr. Zondag, for your prescriptions over the years.
Yeah, the Dr. Zondag is working for me in the nursery cellar. He is actually a doctor.
Oh, okay.
we bought a orchard full of apples from you folks probably 45 years ago. Got a lot of fruit of them over the years, but now they're starting to wind down.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of the ones that are left and are still fruiting a little bit. Get a lot of the suckers.
Yeah,
they're really hard to do with the hand stuff. Can I go with the chainsaw? They got these new nice electric chainsaws that I can just pretty much...
Yep, you can do that.
And what about those big cluster ones that got like the bulb on them? Should I take the bulb off or just the suckers?
Yep, you should do that. Those are called water sprouts, and they tend to do that when they get older.
Right.
Yeah, and so a chainsaw works really well. I have a battery operated chainsaw myself that I use for pruning with bigger size trees and stuff like that. So
some of them it shreds it a little bit, and as a clean a cut as some of the hand stuff.
Yeah, just make sure that your saw is good and sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get the hand sharpeners that you can attach to the blade and sharpen them. But yeah, you don't want to be chewing them because then that leaves a lot of area where disease and insects can get harbored. So you want to make clean cuts, and a good sharp chainsaw makes a good clean cut.
All right, thank you, Doctor. Don't charge my Medicare, please.
Thank you very much for your call. Bye-bye. And let's go to the other line. You're on the air with Dr. Zondag.
When does the first dormant spray go on the apple trees?
Okay, the first dormant spray goes on probably in a couple of weeks. The formula that you want to use is that you want 24 hours when you're not going to go below freezing. It isn't going to hurt the tree if you do go below freezing after you've sprayed, but it'll make it less effective. And you want to spray the first thing you want to do is the sanitation. You want to get all the dead leaves and fruit and get the fruit out of the tree because that's where the initial infection will come from. And then the dormant spray, probably the first week in April. Like I said, 24 hours when you're not going to go below 32 degrees. And then you spray the tree and the ground around the tree. But get all the dead leaves and all the fruit that's still hanging in the tree out of the tree because that's where the initial spores come from. And then after that, Captan is a fungicide. You just want to spray with a fungicide because the insects aren't around yet, but you want to spray those when the buds start to break, and it's called silver tip because when the leaves first come out, they're real hairy and they look silvery. When they get to silver tip, and then the second fungicide goes on when the fruit buds, the flower buds are first opening up, and then at petal fall, when the petals fall out of the tree. That's another time you want to spray with the Captan. And then after that, if you want disease and insect-free fruit, you want to use a fruit tree spray that has an insecticide in it.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for your call. 885-4446. The number to get on the air with Diggs on Dag from Jung Garden Center. Good morning. You're on The Garden Doctor.
Hi. How are you doing this morning?
Good.
I got a grass seed question for you. Last fall, I planted some grass seed.
Okay.
Some of it came up, some of it didn't. Obviously, It's starting to green up now real nicely, but there's still a lot of bald spots. Can I frost seed that? Can I just go out there now before the moisture hits this weekend and just throw some seed down without fertilizer? And
Sure. Yeah, now's the time to get it on because then the seed will germinate when the soil temperature gets around 55 degrees. So if it's a real bald spot, what I do is spread the seed on and then get some straw or clean hay or marsh hay and just cover it with a thin layer of marsh hay because the only thing that really kills grass seed is to have it start to germinate and then dry out. Now, I tried to start a lawn around my house in the middle of July, and it didn't work at all because, you had to water all the time. But I did it.
Now, will I have to fertilize that also right away or just wait until the real spring?
No, you want to wait until next fall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So just throw
there is
down, let it frost seed it, and let
there
it
is
go.
a starter fertilizer that you can use that has a little less nitrogen in it, but you want to basically get the seed started, and then the first seed that comes up is the ryegrass that's in the mix, and that sort of acts as a nurse crop for the bluegrass and the fescue, which are probably a week to 10 days behind the annual rye. So. But the big thing is to put the seed down, try to incorporate it a little bit, and then put the hay or straw over it. And then if there's small spots and you can get a hose out to where it is, just keep watering it maybe every other day or so, or if it's real windy and warm every day until the first green starts to show through. And once that happens, then you can back the watering off.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's why Dick is here to answer your questions, garden related. And we'll go to the other line, 885-4446. Got time for at least one more caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I have a maple tree. I don't know what kind it is. It's about 20, 25 years old.
Okay.
The last 2-3 years, I've noticed there's one section near the top that isn't leafing out.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what's happening there.
Yeah, the tree was probably root bound when you planted it, and if you look around the base of the tree, you'll see a lot of roots starting to form above the ground. There's not a lot you can do about that except at the drip line of the tree you want to take, and if you're fertilizing the lawn, just put a little extra fertilizer there because the only way you'll get it out of that condition at this age is to give it a good shot of fertilizer and get it growing again, because then the roots will start growing, and it's one of the things that bothers maples. They seem to get to be a certain age, and then they start to decline, and the only way you can really get them out of that decline, and especially if it's a verticillium wilt or something like that, is to fertilize them good, water them good, get them growing well, and that will get them out of that dying stage.
Okay, and what kind of fertilizer?
A good lawn fertilizer is excellent.
Just a lawn fertilizer?
Yeah, because lawn fertilizer has a lot of nitrogen in it, and you don't want to use that kind of fertilizer in a garden, but in a lawn, you want the lawn to grow, you want the trees to grow, so a good lawn fertilizer would help that.
Okay, and also, where is marsh hay available?
We have it at Jung's.
Okay.
And the reason marsh hay is good is because even if there's weed seed in the marsh hay, the weed seed that's in there will not germinate in a upland situation. So that's why marsh hay is so good, because there's very few weed seeds in it.
Okay, and one more question about lawns. My house is like 100 years old, and the front of the lawn is so bumpy, and I've had it rolled several times. It's the guy that rolled it, he said sometimes he just can't get that out. Is that true?
What you can do is aerate the lawn. You know,
Okay.
there's an aerator that takes plugs of soil out, and then when that when those plugs kind of disperse, that will help level
Okay.
out the lawn. But if it's spots where there are dips and things like that, if you put an inch of dirt over top of it, the grass will grow through that and level it out a little bit.
Yeah.
So-
I don't see dips. It's just when I mow, it's just, just bump.
Yeah, well,
So-
that's one of the reasons you want to get your lawn or your soil good and set before you put the lawn seed in, because once you seed a lawn, it's really hard to get those bumps out of it. And I guess I'm experiencing that a little bit too.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you very much. We got time for one more caller. You are on the air with Dick Zondag. Go right ahead.
Good morning. I was wondering what I can do to get my rhubarb off to a good start this spring so I get a lot of nice, healthy rhubarb.
Okay, if it's an old rhubarb, well, fertility. I mean, rhubarb is a heavy feeder, so if you've got compost, put some compost around it. If the clump is really big, what you want to do is divide it. And you divide it by just taking a shovel and digging half the clump out, dividing it up and replanting it, because rhubarb grows real rapidly, and if it's too old, it sends up a lot of flower stalks, and if you're getting a lot of flower stalks, that means divide me, cut me in half, get me some space. So, divide it and then fertilize it, because they really like to grow, and I think rhubarb does its best when it's divided every 3 to 4 years.
Okay. I think we bought a bag of chicken
Coop
manure
poop.
or something. Is that,
Yeah.
is that
That's good.
for
That
them?
would be excellent. Yeah, because
Okay.
that has a little extra nitrogen in it, and you're eating
Okay.
the vegetative part of it. So, if the stalks are thin, it means that you've got to divide it.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chicken poop and a chicken coop.
Yep.
Which one do you want?
Yep.
All right. Well, Dick, what's happening at the store these days?
Well, we're actually getting some of the onion plants in, but it's too early to get them for this area.
Okay.
We're getting them for shipping south, but it's starting to get there. But we've got a good supply of seeds right now, and seed starting equipment. If you're going to want to start your own vegetables, which is really a nice thing to do.
Mhm.
We've got the seed starting supply. We also have the employees that can help you with that too. If you've tried it and it hasn't worked out well, ask about it,
Mhm.
because they'll help you. Keep a notebook, because that also helps you from year to year with when to start them and when
Great
to plant
idea.
them out and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. And what are your store hours, Dick?
store hours in Randolph are 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 on Saturday. Of course, we're not open on Sunday. In the Madison area, it's 10 to 6 Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and 10 to 3 on Sunday.
Okay. Got them all. You didn't even look at any
No, and
cards or anything?
I had it down there, and
Yeah.
I hope that's right.
Yeah. You're not wearing glasses today. That's what's different.
I left them down there.
Did you leave out the video bit? All right, Dick, as always, thanks for your advice.
Yep, thank you, John.
We'll talk to you next week. And the preceding was a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program were solely that of John Garden Center, not WBEV 95X or Good Karma Brands.